Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're back for more demonic messages from hell? I spent so much time and money finding SIM cards and email addresses that would let me track down the folks down there. And now you want me to do all of that again? Well, I guess, because I think you people watching at home are alright. Now, keep this in mind, these messages are indeed being broadcast straight from the lake of fire. Insane heat, brimstone, never-ending suffering, the works. So if you don't like what you hear, or if it resonates a little too much with you, or hits a little too close to home, don't blame me, okay? I'm just passing along the message. I'm no demon that anyone knows about. So here we go, let's get right into it. The top 5 scary demonic messages from hell, part 2. Coming in at number 5, we've got a radio interview with a demon. You heard me right, and this isn't any sort of creepypasta or SCP story. No sir, apparently this was broadcast live on a radio station in South Alaska. As we head towards October and ring in the spooky season, keep an eye or perhaps an ear out for stuff like this, especially if you live in the Bible Belt or any similar location. Religious broadcasts are very common in certain parts of the world, and it isn't uncommon for an exorcism or some sort of anti-demon advice column to air. Plenty of horror movies, stories, and other assorted sorts of scary media have adapted experiences like this to great effect. It's a spooky way to live one's life. So here we go, we're gonna dive right into what this demon has to say. This broadcast went on the air on Halloween night at some point in the 80s. If you didn't already know, it was tough to be a young person in a religious area back then, especially if you found yourself in a sticky situation. If a demon found its way into your body, people would just try to bury the evidence as quickly as possible, often to save face, and if something terrible were to happen that wasn't necessarily PG, well, folks would hide the evidence even quicker. Deal with it in silence or be sent off to the funny farm, a different time for sure. So this broadcast concerned a young woman named Rebecca who had somehow taken on the burden of demonic possession. Not a lot of fun by any stretch of the imagination. Rebecca didn't know what to do about this unfortunate development in her life, so she called up the local radio station. She knew that the DJ was a very devout man and that he might be able to help her. Rebecca needed lots of help too, as this demon wasn't just targeting her. It somehow enlisted her mother as well. Rebecca begged the DJ to assist her, as her mom was planning on sacrificing her to Satan on Halloween night. At first, it was Rebecca talking to the radio show host, but about 20 minutes into the broadcast, her voice changes and it becomes apparent that the demon has taken over. This being, which referred to itself as the Keeper, threatened the host, Rebecca, and anyone who might try to assist the possessed girl. At one point, it became furious because people were apparently praying for Rebecca while listening to the broadcast. Who would have thought that they might hear a real demon broadcast live when they tuned into the station that night? Coming in at number 4, we've got sounds from hell. A lot of what we've discussed in these videos concerns actual demonic messages, specific ideas and demands coming right from the mouths of demons. But what if we could tap into the ambient noise of the underworld? It's something that often fades into the background, so well ingrained into our lives that we forget all about it. Ambient noise is almost meant to be ignored. Our brains have decided to let it be. But the ambient noises on Earth must be different from those from hell. We wouldn't really know what to do if presented with or immersed in the actual noises from down there. Well, we're back to radio broadcasts of otherworldly noise. In 2002, listeners of Coast to Coast were treated with what appears to be a recording of noises coming live and direct from hell. Art Bell, the showrunner, received an email from a listener who claimed he had picked up some sounds from a deep hole in the ground. Of course, this recording came straight from Siberia. Where else, am I right? Some deep drilling experiments apparently went a little too deep and opened a portal right to the underworld. Sounds like something straight out of Doom, am I right? Somebody grab a shotgun or two, we might need to rip and tear sometime soon. So while drilling for mineral deposits, the company accidentally tore a hole in the fabric of our world, leading straight to the place where the eternally damned reside. The noise is horrific, to say the least. A cacophony of gut-wrenching and ear-splitting noise, with human-like screams, scraping, shrieking, and raging infernos taking center stage. The recording goes on for a little while, really letting people take in the upsetting nature of the noise. I know I said that ambient noise was meant to be ignored before, but it would be really hard to tune this kind of thing out. I suppose if you were one of the damned, you wouldn't have time to pay attention to the noise around you, as you'd be contributing to it. After hearing all of this, we'd better hope that the drilling company found a way to undo what they had done. If not, there's a big hole in the ground somewhere, providing access to a hellish mix of sights and sounds. Coming in at number 3, we've got Teenage Mutant Evil Demons. It doesn't really make any sense, but I had to make that bad pop culture joke. I'm sorry, everyone. Hopefully it piqued your interest, though, as this demonic message is a bit different than most. It's actually quite interesting how it all goes down. You might have noticed that a lot of demonic messaging is distorted, scary, and altogether threatening. So what do you do when the demon that's possessed someone tells you its message with the normal voice of its victim? This message comes from a demon who doesn't really like it in hell and has managed to take over the mind and body of a teenage girl. However, the demon doesn't replace her voice or even really her personality. It communicates with the attending pastor in her cheerful, bubbly manner. Well, for a little while anyway. As the demon begins to recount its experiences in hell, things get a little bit dicey. Apparently living there means that you're in pain all the time, like never-ending torture. And the heat is unbearable for everyone, not just damned souls. Demons have it tough in hell too. Satan is a jerk of a boss, God doesn't forgive the eternally damned, and the longer you're there, the more real eternal suffering becomes. Not the ideal situation to find yourself in, that's for sure. The recording goes on for about 20 minutes, with the girl becoming progressively more unhinged and upset, and by the end she's begging for salvation. And that's just the message coming straight from the demon. Coming in number 2, demonic noise controlling your phone. So stay with me here, this one might seem a little bit off. You're all well aware of the digital assistants available to us these days, right? Alexa, Siri, Google, the works. Based on science fiction dreams of old, folks have always wanted a quasi-human computer taking their orders and doing calculations for them. The way they've been implemented in our time is a little funky, with some glitches in the matrix that cause folks to wonder what's going on. They always seem to be listening and can routinely misinterpret what we ask of them before regurgitating some upsetting details about unrelated topics. But researchers have found a way to make these assistants even more upsetting, by using demon voices. They figured out a way to create demonic-sounding noise, indecipherable to the human ear, that can control digital assistants. You might be on the bus and hear a weird garbled noise. To you it means nothing, but then your phone is suddenly glitching up. Or maybe it's making online purchases that you didn't confirm and sending them to an unknown address. That's a big security concern for sure. And the fact that it sounds like demonic babbling or maybe some weather-worn recordings of ancient entities, well, that's the spooky icing on top of this horrifying technological cake. And at number 1, we've got backmasking. The satanic panic never ends. If you thought we were finally done with random people moralizing everything and anything in order to control other people, well, think again. The most recent example we can point to is the ridiculous Satan scare generated by Lil Nas X. I won't go too deep into this one, but folks will never stop being ridiculous when it comes to pop culture and so-called traditional values. What a world. On that topic, let's discuss backmasking, one of the most famous ways to apparently sneak demonic messaging to your children. Ever since the inception of home audio systems, people have been worried about what you might end up hearing, whether it be on your record player, radio, or smartphone. Some songs have been put under intense scrutiny as they have questionably satanic messages hidden in the sound waves, revealed when played backwards or modified in another way. Listening to heavy metal will always get some knickers in a knot, but specifically Slayer has always raised a stink in the backmasking arena. Led Zeppelin was accused of hiding satanic messages in their songs as well, and their symbols didn't help much. Even Weird Al Yankovic has been accused of backmasking and hiding satanic messages in his music, although that was about Satan eating Cheese Whiz, which might not be the most dangerous sentiment. Maybe these satanic allegiances helped the artists reach their pinnacle of fame, or maybe it's finger waggers and pearl clutchers looking for ways to keep their power and influence. Either way, it feels hellish in nature. So what do you think of the list? Do you agree with my picks? Which scary demonic message freaks you out the most? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more radiant ones from part 1. Gem2 says, I'm always fascinated at the different ways people with near-death experiences detail hell. I think my favorite is we carry our own hell from life to death. Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. Life is hell. RJ Ehlert says, Red Bull, Keegan? That's Diablo's favorite energy drink. Just don't look up conspiracies concerning the ingredients. And Mike Lambert says that Monster Broad spent too much time playing rock albums backwards for masking messages of evil in the 80s. Lol. And here we are talking about backmasking. Sometimes life imitates art, yeah? And that's all the time we have for today. I'm going to press play on this videotape that my friend lent me. He said something about 7 days, but I don't think it'll take me a full week to watch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Plenty of horror movies, stories, and other assorted sorts, eh? At one point, it became furious because people were apparently praying for Rebecca while listening to the radio broadcast. Yeah. So while drilling for mineral deposits, the company accidentally tore a hole in the fabric of our... So what do you do when the demon that has possessed someone tells you they are Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more radiant ones from part 1. Gem2 Gem2 says, I'm always fat. No, what's up with my voice?